Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Georgia Recruiting Rumors versus Facts. It is Blaine Gilmer and Trent Smallwood with you this evening. Trent, how are we doing tonight?
Doing good. Just another week of Georgia recruiting.
Absolutely. Georgia recruiting, and you and I were just kind of talking about it before we got going. It's kind of hit that dead period, so to speak, right now. You know, you've got a lot of guys who are busy with games and busy with practices and stuff. So trying to work in, going out and seeing these guys and things like that. And that's exactly what we did on Friday night. And we're going to be bringing you some footage here of some of these games that we went out to go see. But first, want to make sure that everybody, if you like the content here on the show, if you like what is going on in terms of, the Tuesday show with Roddy and Jim Donnan and Dane Young, and then Paul and Ben show on Sunday, everybody that's putting out content here, make sure to hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications so you know when anything and everything goes live here on UGA Sports. But thank you so much. Go ahead and hit that like button for us if you can while you're in here. That helps us out a lot. And we're excited to be bringing you another Monday, a Monday recruiting show here. And Trent, there was a lot of Friday night football to get caught up on, and I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to let you talk kind of as some of this B-rolls going here, not only on the North Cobb Buford game, but we're going to start off with the game that I went to and just your experience seeing some of these guys in the past. And then I'll talk about what I saw Friday night here on the Jefferson and Raven game. And you see right here, Gunnar Stockton warming up, and we show some of the pregame stuff that happened and some clips here. But Jed, in terms of Gunnar Stockton, a lot of debate this weekend on Gunnar and what type of quarterback he's going to be in college and things like that. I'm just wanting to see kind of your thoughts on it as you've seen Gunnar play throughout high school.
I think, at first, a couple of years ago, he was more of he's still a dual threat guy, but he was more of like a run first guy, more option type quarterback. And I think he's developed really well as a passer the last 2 years. And I think he's pass first now. I know I've seen the Shaw offense ran for many years, all the way back when his son J-Bo and Connor came through Flowery Branch playing, and I know how he likes to use his quarterbacks. But I do think he's a pass first. But he's strong as an ox. So, he'll run you over. He will. He don't shy away from contact if he is running the ball. But I do like how the zip on his ball, he can make every throw on the field. That's the first thing you look at. You see, can he make every throw on the field? And he absolutely can. I've seen him make every throw. I've seen him make the 15, 20-yard out passes. I've seen him make the deep post. He's got a lot of zip on the ball. And, I'm more impressed by, he's just a leader on the field. He knows where to go with the football. He's accurate with the football, and he's just developed into an outstanding quarterback.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting on Friday night. Gunnar is a young man who certainly is capable of using his legs to cause damage to the opposing team. But what I saw Friday night was a guy who was very comfortable in the pocket, who was going to run only when he needed to get out of things. Like you said, I don't think he's looking to run. I think there are some design runs. Obviously, they do for him at the high school level, but I don't think you'll see nearly as much of that with Gunnar Stockton when it comes to Georgia going forward. I think he's going to make his money, so to speak, in the pocket. I think he's going to be a guy who will be able to pick up key first downs when he needs to, but and even be used. He's a big, strong guy, like you said. He can be used in that Tebow type role down in the red zone to get some tough yardage. You'll see a video of it coming up here soon, but either he scored on a short yardage play on the first drive for Rabun County going in, and just, impressed most of all with who Gunnar is as a young man. He seems to be a fine leader, a very selfless person. He's not someone out there looking to, be all about him and go to all the Elite 11s and the camps and stuff like that. He's very team oriented. So found that out. But Trent, I thought one of the guys that impressed me the most, and you'll see him on the screen come into a picture for Jefferson here pretty soon, was number 1, Sammy Brown. Everyone knows about Malachi Starks and how impressive of an athlete he is, but that big linebacker right there for Jefferson that you're seeing right now, number 1, Sammy Brown, is in the class of 2024. He won the state championship. Here he is right here. Look at this 81-yard touchdown run for Sammy Brown, and he is at 215 pounds just pulling away from people. And Sammy is fast. Like I said, he won the 400-meter state championship. When you're 6 foot, Trent, when you're 6'3", really, and probably closer to 220 pounds, being able to run like that we just saw, that's just tell people what they're seeing there when they see a big guy like that running down the sideline.
It's just remarkable. I mean, it's like a Nate McBride on steroids. Nothing against him, because Nate McBride won a lot of. He competed at the track, and he was fast a lot too, but he wasn't 6'3",
and that's this is Sammy right there taking down Gunner, keeping up with him.
He's just the speed's there, the physicality's there, the lateral movements there. He has everything you want at that linebacker position. And I think he's just a special prospect. I'd be interested to see how he grows over the next 2 years, but I mean, his size right now is just, you see why every college wants him.
Oh yeah. Georgia, Tennessee, South Carolina, Clemson, of course, doesn't offer you until you're much older in the process of junior year or so, but a lot of it. And then now, Trent, here's the game that you saw, North Cobb and Buford, and there's Malachi Singleton. Sorry, too many Malachi's going on. Just tell people what they see. People say that Gunnar Stockton is a dual threat. Malachi Singleton is a unbelievable dual threat.
He is. I mean, he is physical. He's just like a bowling ball when he gets going. It's hard to bring him down. He's going to lower his head. He's going to try to run you over. He gets the extra yards. I thought that as an overall quarterback, I thought he was a better runner than he was a passer on that night given. I thought he was a little inaccurate with football at times. I thought, but he was also facing a pass rush from Buford that was absolutely in his face on every play. Made it difficult on him. He had a lot of rush throws, but I look at he had a couple of deep opportunities, overthrew a couple of balls, a couple of sideline passes. He overthrew them onto the sideline. And, I would have liked to see a little bit more accuracy from him, but running the football, man, he was something special.
And now we're seeing video clips of Caden McDonald and also Grant Godfrey for North Gwinnett. Both Hoover really took it to North Gwinnett, but both were pretty impressive in their own right and how they flew around. Two younger guys, McDonald and Godfrey, both in that class of 2023. Dylan Lonergan, we're now watching here from Brookwood. They ran into a buzzsaw of Collins Hill. But there you see Ethan Davis of Collins Hill warming up. When you talk about those kind of guys, the state of Georgia, Trent, is just loaded with talent, and it just shows you that each Friday night you can go catch a marquee game and see guys that Georgia is going to be highly involved in recruiting. And I just wanted everybody to kind of see some of that footage to see what we were out there witness to on Friday night. But in terms of guys like a Ethan Davis, someone who's never played football really, or hadn't played in a while. He's been a basketball guy, and he's paired up on the other side of Travis Hunter. What's that going to do for him in terms of what he can maybe produce for Collins Hill this year as more and more teams, try to take away Travis Hunter?
Well, number one, it's gonna get him seen because Travis Hunter's on the field. So you're gonna have college prospects looking at the game, looking at the film, and they're gonna say, "Who's that big wide receiver on the other side?" And also, he's going to see a lot of one-on-ones. So, you're going to see some rolled coverage over to Hunter, and you're going to see some double teams on Hunter, and it's going to open up a lot of opportunities for Ethan Davis. Not to say that Hunter's not going to beat those double teams because he's just a special athlete. But yeah, I think Ethan, Todd Wofford, the wide receiver coach over there, let me know about Ethan Davis back in the spring and told me how special he was, told me he was an outstanding player, and he's ever since he told me that, he started to blow up on the recruiting trail. He went to some camps this summer and received some offers, and he's going to receive more. He's a big physical wide receiver, and he's got room to grow. Of course, he's raw, because he hasn't played in a couple of years. His route running could improve a little, but he has a great coaching staff over there, and there's no doubt that he's going to be special and be one to watch.
Yeah, I was really impressed. Obviously, Travis Hunter, by the way, I know he's committed to Florida State and is a Georgia recruiting trope, but Travis Hunter may be the best high school football player I've seen in a long time. I mean, he's right up there with the guys like, when I used to watch Deshaun Watson play in person, you're just like, this guy never does anything wrong. He's always consistently hitting the mark, and Travis Hunter just seems to make plays constantly while he's out there. He was throwing touchdown passes. He was catching touchdown passes. He was playing great defense. So Travis Hunter is a true just absolute wonderful talent. And some people on the board were asking, does Travis Hunter, is he just solid to Florida State? I think he's totally in there with Florida State, unless, you always got to look and see what happens if Florida State just goes absolutely in the tank this year. How much do these players put emphasis on the actual performance of the team during the season? That's yet to be determined. I think sometimes these guys, it's kind of baked in already, but we'll see. But Trent, is there anything, just from, we talked about Malachi Singleton, we talked about, you also saw Marquise Groves Killebrew there at North Cobb. So just kind of talk about the performance you saw about out of Groves Killebrew before we get to our questions.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Groves Killebrew, the first play, or right at the beginning of the game, he caught that 80-yard touchdown pass, and they took an early 14-0 lead on Buford. He had a batted down pass in the first half up against Florida commit Isaiah Bond, and then he got the cramps, and he never was able to fully get over those cramps. He cramped up in the third quarter. He cramped up in the fourth quarter. He's playing both sides of the ball. He's on kick return. They were trying to give him breaks throughout the game, but he was. I thought when they had got a 14-0 lead, they should have pulled him from offense and stuck him strictly on defense, and they kept him on offense or giving him breaks on defense, and he just continued to cramp up, and so he wasn't as effective in the second half as he would have been without the cramps, but. I mean, he's just a dynamic player. I think he's dynamic on the offense. I think he's dynamic on defense. I think he's a playmaker. I think he goes up and gets the ball. He gets his hips turned. He finds the ball while it's in the air. He makes plays on the ball. Georgia's getting a good one with Groves Killebrew.
He is going to take visits at other places. Marquise Groves Killebrew is going to visit other places, but he's been the longest committed Georgia Bulldog in the class of 2022. So feel really excited about him staying with Georgia, but he's a young man. He's going to enjoy his recruiting process. And I mean, you can't blame him for that. However, he's been one that's been recruiting hard on behalf of the University of Georgia, trying to get guys to come and join him. And, they were without his current, teammate and maybe future teammate if everything stays according to plan at Georgia, and Denylon Morissette. So once they get both of those back and are healthy and all that, that's going to be a scary crew.
And they got Sam too.
Oh yes, Sam Mbake. How did Sam look for everybody before we get to our questions? How did Sam Mbake?
Sam, he's more of a possession type receiver, more of your slot guy you can trust over the middle. He's not going to necessarily burn you over the top, but he's going to be a sure-handed guy. He likes to talk his junk. I know that, but he's a possession wide receiver, and I think he's not a burner, but he's got good hands, and I think he'll be a solid contributor for somebody at the next level.
Yeah, and then also too wanted to touch that. Let everybody know over at UGAsports.com, each Monday we're going to try to bring you a piece called Following the Future, where we look at Georgia prospects and commitments, how they did in their high school weekend. Some guys I didn't put on there this week is like Kamari Wilson. Kamari Wilson was actually ejected out of that game against American Heritage. He got multiple personal fouls. So, a little aggressiveness there with Kamari Wilson, but we'll see what happens with all that. And then, you had guys like Marcel Reed, who I'm going to be doing a story on soon. Marcel Reed, a quarterback at Georgia. In my opinion, if they don't get Arch Manning, if Georgia doesn't win the Arch Manning sweepstakes, which I think they're firmly in, they don't win that recruitment. Marcel Reed might be the next guy up, Trent, because him and Todd Monken are doing weekly Zoom calls, things of that nature. So he's a very talented pro style. Actually gets under center, which is remarkable. Not many teams get under center up there in Nashville, but just wanted to let you guys know that's coming out there. If you aren't a member of the UGAsports.com boards and things like that, make sure you can use until August 31st the promo code DOGS2021, and you get your first year for $20.21. So with that being said, Trent, we've kind of touched on the weekend that was of high school football. Now let's get to some of our recruiting questions here. And we're going to start it off with Mr. Scuffletown Dog. So Scuffletown Dog says, your report last week had the 10 most wanted. Which ones do you think we wind up getting? So which ones did Georgia? And he's referencing back to the 10 most wanted I put up on the website over there. And I'll actually pull that up right now. It was important for people to know when I put that up on the site, it wasn't just a straight, the 10 guys I think are going to end up in the class. It was, okay, who, if Georgia, who do they have a real chance with, and who are the priorities? And I had Kamari Wilson up there. Trent, I think Kamari Wilson definitely ends up in the class. I had Oscar Delp, but there were some other guys on there, like a Jacob Hood, who, I think Georgia is not going to take very many in this offensive line class. So would you consider, Jacob Hood a priority right now, Trent, with the way this offensive line class is shaping up?
No, most definitely. I think, and I think Jacob Hood's better than his ranking shows right now. I think he's really good. I think he's got the size. I think he's got the. I just think he is an offensive tackle that fits Georgia's mold, and I think he's one of the top tackles on the board, if not the top guy that they're looking at. And then right now, I think it looks good for Georgia. I think Georgia's in it, Miami's in it, but I think Georgia looks good right now.
Yeah, so I'm going to rattle off that list I had, and this was the order 1 through 10 of who I said was Georgia's 10 most wanted targets. And when I say most wanted, I want to clarify this. This is most wanted guys that I feel they have a chance to land. I didn't put Travis Shaw in there. This was before he committed because we knew Travis Shaw was going somewhere else. Not putting Walter Nolan on there right now because, yes, they want Walter Nolan, but I don't feel Georgia's got a very good chance with Walter Nolan right now. So those kind of guys I didn't put on the list. So here's some of the guys on the list. Kamari Wilson, number 1. Number 2, Luther Burden. Number 3, Bear Alexander. Number 4, Jaheim Singletary. Number 5, Michael Williams. Number 6, Shamar Stewart. Number 7, Oscar Delp. Number 8, Kristen Miller. Number 9, Julian Humphrey, and number 10, Jacob Hood. So we've already talked about Hood. We think he's got a good chance. So let's count some more. Delp, I think we both agree, good chance for Georgia, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kamari Wilson, we both feel like Georgia. You and I now both, you first put in a future cast for Kristen Miller the other day, and I'll let you circle back down to that, but that gives us 4 off the list. Michael Williams, I feel like obviously he's still committed to USC, so it's hard to say that he ends up at Georgia while he's still committed somewhere else, but I believe they have a good chance, and we'll get to talk more about that. So let's say that would be 5. And Jaheim Singletary and Luther Burden. Those are the 2 we really have to talk about here. Talk first about why you put your future cast in for Kristen Miller, and then we'll touch on Burden and Singletary.
I've just had the opportunity to talk with him several different times, and I think that his relationship with with Trey Scott and the coaching staff, and just everything that's happened over the past 2 or 3 months, and Georgia just picking it up, the whole staff starting to recruit him. What I'm kind of hearing behind the scenes of how he's kind of reflecting on Georgia coming hard after him, what he's kind of saying off the record, just several different things. Just I think now I don't know by any means that he is going to Georgia, but I do feel that Georgia is the team very trending right now, and I think Georgia um, might be just be the team to beat right now.
Yeah, I think Georgia has really, quite honestly. Somebody asked before, Christian. Somebody asked on the board, and it kind of ties into this question before we move on to Burden and Singletary. They asked, what's the result of the newfound push kind of with Georgia and Miller? I think Kristen Miller's kind of come back around to Georgia a little bit. He was on that USC hype after his official visit over there, kind of that visit high. He comes back and he starts feeling the love from Georgia. And then also, let's be honest, Trent, Travis Shaw goes to North Carolina. Things don't look great with Walter Nolan. You have to get dynamic guys in the middle, the interior of that defense to replace guys like Devontae Wyatt, Julian Rochester, Jordan Davis. Now, Kristen Miller's not going to be a true nose, but you put him and Tyree West kind of in that three technique role, maybe could even slide down to a shade as they're close to 300 pounds. That really goes a long way towards fortifying that. And then it becomes a matter of finding that true nose, right?
Yeah, and there's one thing about Georgia's defense is they play out of the nickel most of the time, so they're not always in that true 3-4. So you'll see guys like Devontae Wyatt or somebody like that, the three tech guys, stay on the field when they go to that nickel, and those are the type of guys they need. And Christian Miller, he fits that position nicely, and I think he's a big want for Georgia.
Yeah, and one more thing on Miller before we, like I said, we're going to touch on Jaheim Singletary and Luther Burden right here in a second. But I wanted to point out some people asked about his performance against Buford. We were all there. Kristen Miller was consistently getting. He was getting penetration. He was getting push in against a very physical, very talented Buford offensive line. I think he showed why he is such a highly touted prospect in that game. But Trent, I wanted to get your opinion. You've got Luther Burden, who Georgia needs in this class to get a high impact number one type receiver, and also another very, very solid, maybe a ready to play type guy at corner because of depth in the secondary. Singletary and of course Burden would cover those. First, let's touch on Jaheim Singletary. You've seen to get some background on him recently. What are your thoughts on Jaheim Singletary?
No, I do. I think Georgia's a school that is very much in this. He still has his. He took his visit to Georgia. He still has an official visit to Miami. I'm sure he'll take a couple other ones, but yeah, I think Georgia's. Georgia's right there at the top for Singletary. I think that they have to get him on campus early in the fall. Don't let one of the home state schools gain some momentum on them. But I do think. Right now, where everything sits right now, Georgia has a very legit chance of landing Singletary. But like I said, that it's a long ways from his announcement, or when I think he'll announce, and they just have to continue to get him on campus and just ride the wave.
Yeah, getting him in town this fall and being able to letting him see the Georgia game day environment and things like that. Georgia just does a tremendous job with on-campus recruiting. They always have under Kirby Smart, and that would be a huge deal to get him on. Same thing can be said, in my opinion, for Luther Burden. It's very much so. It appears after his decommitment from Oklahoma, it appears this is a Missouri Georgia race. I'm sure Alabama, if they've got room over there, Alabama's problem is they're just like, all right, how many of these big guys can we take? It gets to be kind of that thing with Alabama right now, it seems. But when Georgia is has the opportunity to bring Luther Burden onto campus, and he's able to, get that sit down with Todd Monken and show how they can use him and things like that. He's already been there one time before, but him being able to come for that official and spend a long amount of time with Cortez Hankton, Todd Monken, Kirby Smart, I feel like that could make a big difference. But it appears that Missouri may be trying to do some things with some NIL, him being a more local talent, things like that. But what's your assessment kind of on the burden on his game and how he would fit at Georgia, and then also his recruitment at this point?
Oh, I think outside of Travis, who we were talking about earlier, I think he's probably the most dynamic receiver that in this class. He is just you know, got speed to burn. He's got he looks like one of those Pac-12 wide receivers that's running wild on a Saturday. He's got everything you want. He would fit the offense perfectly. He's not the biggest guy, but he's a great route runner. He's got great speed. He's got great burst off the line of scrimmage. He's just an excellent playmaker. And where Georgia sits right now, I think it's Georgia, Missouri, right there at the top for him. And it's just like the other one, the other Singletary. You're battling against a home state score. You're battling against Missouri. You're battling against a school that he's already been committed to. Missouri would seem like the obvious fit, but Georgia's right there, and Georgia has to ride the wave and keep the momentum off of Missouri's side. Get them on campus early in the fall, and see if they can outlast them.
Yeah, so we talked about a lot of prospects there, but out of that top 10 that I had mentioned in Scuffletown Dog, asked about, I think they end up with somewhere in the 5 to 6 range out of that. And that kind of leads into this question here. The next question we have is what's up, Dog, on the vault. In your opinion, will or Georgia's 2022 class finish in the top 3 nationally? Trent, I'll let you give your opinion on that first, then I'll jump in and give mine.
I think this all depends on a lot of factors. You got 3 commits that are sitting right there. I think from 20 to 30 that are 5-star commits. Will they keep their 5-star status? Will anybody bump up to 5-star status? Can Georgia land a guy like Luther Burden or Singletary or both? I think a lot of these are going to play into it. I do think Georgia's going to be right there at the 3-4 mark once again, and just because they. A lot of people are down on the class, and just because of the lack of momentum in July and August. But the class is still very good. The class has still got some highly rated kids, and it's going to land. It's going to land a lot more with your just looking at Delp. If Georgia can land Delp, if Georgia can land Kamari Wilson, Georgia can land one of Singletary and Burden, they're going to be right there in the top 3.
Oh yeah, just that if they just got those alone. I mean, those guys are going up, but then you add some pieces that there's some guys like, I think a Dylan Bell, before all is said and done, Dylan Bell, I think, is going to go up and shoot up in the rankings. There's lots of players out there that Georgia has. Who knows? There may be, Griffin Scroggs could have a big year with Grayson and end up, bumping up a star over there. So you never know where it's going to finish, but Georgia has more of their targets out there remaining than most do. Shamar Stewart's another one that I want everybody to know. Shamar Stewart, Georgia is very, very much so in this. Miami seemed to have a lot of momentum because they're right there in his backyard and things like that. But I've talked to people close to Shamar Stewart, and both Shamar and the people close to him said that Georgia was his best visit. That they really pulled out, all the stops. Dan Lannon was wonderful in that visit. They said, just spending a ton of time with him. I think he was supposed to leave there that day at like 7-8 o'clock at night, and he didn't end up leaving until like 11:15 to get to Clemson that night. So they were really kind of making use of their time there on that unofficial.
And you got Michael Williams is a 5-star. If you could flip him. Christian Williams is a top 100 kid. Kamari Wilson's a top 35 kid. You just got a bunch of targets on the board that you could really see that ranking rise. Maybe even in the top 2 if you can land these top guys.
I also believe, Trent, that Georgia has, with some of the people they've already taken, including a punter from Australia who's not been there, so he could end up blue shirting or doing something crazy like that. Georgia, if Singletary, Wilson, and also if Julian Humphrey wanted to flip from Florida, I believe they would obviously make room for all 3.
Yeah, for sure. There's those are your top 3 defensive back targets. You don't turn any of those 3 down. So I definitely could see Georgia taking 3 more defensive backs in this class.
All right, so let's move on. We had one latest on Michael Williams. We've kind of touched on that already, guys. He's just Georgia has to first get a secure an official visit from him this fall. He hasn't guaranteed that he's going to go to Georgia. I'd be surprised if he doesn't end up taking an official visit to Georgia. And then, of course, the decommitment's got to come at some point. Now, I know they're working hard on him and his family. His family likes Georgia, but that's really kind of, I think, all we have right there.
I think Michael is going to be one of these ones that when he flips, it's going to be unexpected. If he flips, it's going to be unexpected. I don't think it's going to be one of these things that everybody's like, well, this is Michael Williams is flipping today. It's not going to be one of those things. I think it's going to be totally out of the blue if it happens because, he's playing the game. He still loves USC. That's the thing. He's committed to USC. He still loves USC, but he is listening to Georgia. And I think that if he does wind up flipping, I think it would just be out of the blue somewhere.
That you never know. That world of recruiting is crazy. Realistic UGA fan 1191 version 2.0 says, "What is the buzz around our top targets, if any, about UGA having to beat Clemson to change the narrative against us? Is that overblown as far as momentum goes?" I think it's overblown. I think obviously if Georgia goes in there and they were to, somehow go in there and just blow Clemson's doors off, obviously that would create just some rapid buzz on the back end, Trent. But I think overall these guys they're not worried about what those guys out in front of them are doing right now. They want to see the system. They want to see how it's operating, but they're more focused on their own deal. I mean, is that kind of the impression you get with a lot of these guys?
Yeah, I think the more important thing is, seeing this offense, seeing how in the second year with JT Daniels and Monken, how the offense is going to be ran. It might not be ran the way it's going to be run all year due to injuries, but I just think that there's more into it as far as scheme, how they're using the wide receivers, with depth, what are they doing with the tight ends, just the overall scheme and what they're doing. Are they willing to play young guys? Are they putting young guys on the field in certain spots? It's just a lot goes into that more than wins and losses.
Yeah, and I think when you're recruiting, somebody like a Julian Humphrey to try to flip him, right? He told me the other day that Georgia's talking to him about playing all 5 defensive spots, saying he could play everything from, star to nickel to corner, safety, whatever. If you got a guy like a Smile Mondon, who was a linebacker, but he gets to go play the star position, he's going to see, okay, Georgia is versatile in how they use their freshmen. They're willing to use their freshmen. Or if Kamari Lassiter's in that role, a guy who was a corner primarily in high school, just like Julian Humphrey is, that could be big with him, just to see not necessarily how Georgia does in the game, like you said, but how are they using the pieces. And then also a Luther Burden, if he sees Jermaine Burton go off and have a big game, or if he sees Adonai Mitchell go off and have a big game, that could impact him specifically. And I think you're 100% right on Delp. I think the only reason Delp, in my opinion, hasn't committed to Georgia already is I think he's wanting to see, okay, is what Todd Hartley and Todd Monken saying about how they're going to use these tight ends, is it for real? Obviously, with Darnell Washington being out, and John Fitzpatrick, who I think is going to end up being healthy for the Clemson game, but with him having missed some time, Brock Bowers has had a lot of opportunity. So that, and I think Brock and Oscar are very similar type players, Trent. So what's your opinion? If Brock has a big game, obviously that may put Georgia over the top with Delp on that.
Yeah, I think his eyes are going to be on Brock. I think even if Fitzpatrick is healthy for the game, you're still missing your Darnell Washington, Eric Gilbert, who knows when he will be available, and I know he's going to play wide receiver, but he could have played in that tight end role when needed. I think a lot of eyes are going to be on Brock Bowers, especially with Delp. See how when he gets his opportunities, how is he used? Is he split out like they say they're going to be? Or there's just a lot goes into the wins and losses. And don't get me wrong, wins and losses are a momentum builder for a program, for recruiting. It is a momentum builder, but it's not a deal breaker. I think Georgia could get a lot of momentum from this game, maybe land a commitment with a big win, but can they sign them? And I think that's going to be the ultimate when they're looking at scheme and all that stuff when it comes time for signing day.
Yeah, and just that we've got some people over in the YouTube side of things sending in questions, guys. You're asking more injury style questions and things like that. We'll defer to Coach Donnan and to Roddy and to Dane on that on Tuesday. So make sure you listen tomorrow at 12 noon here on the YouTube channel to get the latest on injury news and all that kind of stuff. They're the ones on the beat with that, and also Anthony Dasher has all that stuff on the dog vent. But here, make sure you're, asking us that's kind of all of our questions we had on the vault. We did have one that I wanted to clear up. Some people were asking, okay, if Georgia's seemingly struggling, quote unquote, struggling with defensive tackle recruiting, why don't they use guys like Geno Atkins and Richard Seymour to go and combat some negative recruiting narratives, things like that? Well, we did some digging and we found out that it's legal for them to do that. Like if Geno Atkins is on campus when a guy's on an official visit, he can talk to him. He can let him do that, but he can't, like, if he's never had a relationship with Barry Alexander before, he hasn't like trained him or something like that, then he can't just reach out and talk to him. But Trent, somebody like Terrence Edwards, when Jermaine Burton was getting recruited, Terrence Edwards could talk to Jermaine Burton as much as he wanted to because he'd been knowing him since, 6th, 7th grade, training him. So, there's a lot of rules when it comes to this stuff, but I didn't want to throw that out there.
Yeah, and I mean, you're looking at guys that were in the program a long time ago. That's not really even associated with Kirby Smart as a coach.
They're closer to him as a player.
Yeah, closer to him as a player. So I mean, I think you would. I really don't think. I mean, you could have those guys. You can have those guys talking to them, and I think guys like Nick Chubb and Sony Michel would make more of an impact as Georgia for players. But when it comes to at the end of the day, you're looking at guys who've been put in the NFL, and when Georgia has those guys, if you put Jordan Davis in the first or second round, if you put any of these players, the George Pickens in the first or second round, then you're going to start to see these things change because you have those guys to go back on and say, hey, we put these guys in the league. And that's where Alabama's built its success. They're 3 or 4 first rounders every year, sometimes more. And that speaks for itself when you're putting guys in the league and you start showing that money they're making.
Yeah, Julian Humphrey told me the other night when I was talking to him, he said the main reason he's even considering flipping from Georgia to Florida is the fact that Georgia this past year put 5 guys on NFL training camps, either through the draft. One is an undrafted free agent, DJ Daniel. He's subsequently been cut, but they had 5 guys have an opportunity to make an NFL roster this year. And that's kind of what, put him in a position where he's listening to Georgia about that flip opportunity. Last question here, unless anybody wants to submit one on the YouTube channel, but we're going to take this last question, and that'll be it for the evening. Matthew McCarty asks, wide receiver and O-line seem like huge positions of need in the 2023 class. Who are we in a good spot for? Well, I'll just tell you 2 names that jump out to me, and Trent, if you've got different ones, but you've got Jalen Hale because one, Brandon Ennis just committed to Oklahoma, and I think Brandon Ennis was obviously number 1 on everyone's board. He's just an unbelievable wide receiver prospect. He played high school ball as an 8th grader with Kenny McIntosh when Kenny McIntosh was a senior. So he's been at university, high school, and now he plays the American Heritage, but he committed to Oklahoma. So with him off the board, I think Jalen Hale from Longview, Texas is a guy that you got to really know in that class of 2023. And then also as far as wide receivers, listed at 6'2", 175, 4-star, number 28 player in the country right now on the Rivals 250 in the class of 2023. And then by far and away, I think one guy that everybody needs to know as far as the offensive line is TJ Shanahan. TJ Shanahan absolutely was a man amongst boys and won the offensive line MVP at the 5-star challenge as a junior. He was from Central Florida down there in Orlando. He's since moved to Austin, Texas, to go out to the school Westlake out there where Cade Klubnik goes, the quarterback that's going to Clemson. But those are two names that I think you really need to know in the class of 2023. And we'll have more on the class of 2023 as things go on. But Trent, anybody that sticks out to you 2023 that you think they'll be targeting and really go after?
Yeah, I mean, you already got one committed and down in Florida and Sorry, and then you got guys in state like what we already mentioned earlier was Ethan Davis, who received the offer this spring. He could be a big body guy that Georgia pursues, and then you got some guys down there in Florida that Georgia's offered, and that Hakeem Williams and those type of guys that are playmakers. And I mean, here's the thing with wide receivers, with us coming off the COVID season, us not being able to get out and evaluate much, a lot of names are going to pop up over the next 6-7 months that you might not even know much about. And I think that's what's going to come into play with the 23 class is you're going to see a lot of guys that you don't hear much about to start with, and you're going to start to hear more about them. But offensive line, I mean, it just in state. You got Jonathan Hewley down in Fairburn. I mean, you got just a ton of guys in Georgia. Kelton Smith down there in Columbus. Just
Miles McVay, who's from East St. Louis, where Luther Burden goes.
Yep.
If they get Luther Burden, you never know.
Madden Sanker. You just got a ton of guys in state that I think you could really focus on in-state guys and have a very good offensive line class, and I think they'll go outside the state and try to maybe land a top tackle or so. But I think you could for interior line, I think you could stick inside the state and then have some success there.
Back to wide receiver real quick, a slot receiver type player, Caden Lee, another in-state guy. He's at Westlake now, very shifty, great dexterity. I mean, he catches the ball away from his body always, is very quick at turning and getting upfield, no wasted movement. He doesn't round things off once he gets the ball. I mean, he catches sticks his foot in the ground and gets north. So that's what you like to see, especially out of a smaller receiver like that. He's more of a 5'11", 175-pound guy. And then another guy who just dropped, of course, Carmelo English is one out of Phoenix City, Central High School that Jackson Meeks came from. So there's a connection there with Georgia. They're in on him. I saw a Darius Redmond when I went up to Powell. He's a big-time playmaker for them, Powell, Tennessee, which is where Walter Nolan is right now. So Georgia getting familiar with him. He has an offer from Georgia. And then, of course, the other one that I would list is Bryson Rogers. He dropped his top 10. He's from the Florida area. Penn State and Alabama are hard on him right now, but Georgia had him in this summer, worked him out at a camp, got to see him. He's a 6'1", 175-pound guy, but he can run. He separates well. So there's going to be a lot of names like Trent said, but guys, that's going to be basically it for us. Trent, anything, kind of coming up that you can think about? Anything you want to say before we get off here?
No, it's just I guess we are 12 days away from Georgia Clemson. Next Monday night will be well, I guess that'll be game week.
Yeah, we'll be talking for game week.
And we'll be talking to who's confirmed to be at the Georgia Clemson game. We'll get we'll reach out to these prospects, get their predictions on the games, and try to get and then the following Monday night it'll be maybe have some recaps from the game. So big couple weeks coming. College football's back. Fans are in the stadium, and it's something to be excited about.
And a lot of us will be up in Charlotte for the game too when that occurs. So there could be an opportunity for us to actually see some of these guys up there and get to talk to them about that game. So who knows? We'll
and if you stay tuned, that me and Paul will go live on this channel after the game for a recap for the game. So
yeah, call-in show I think is going to come after the game. So If you're not subscribed, before you click the closeout button on your browser, go ahead and just do us a favor. Hit the subscription, hit the bell for notifications. Go ahead and hit that thumbs up for the like button. That helps us out a lot. Leave a comment if you want. And thank you again for joining another episode of Georgia Recruiting Rumors versus Facts here on Monday night. For Trent Smallwood, I'm Blaine Gilmer, and we'll catch you next time.